The psychological impact of solitary confinement. Now, I want to address the issue of the newly imposed administrative policy throughout the Pennsylvania Department of Correction. We are in a congregated administrative custody isolation mode as far as the functioning with respect to the COVID-19. The brain and nervous system, or the mind, cannot function normally without stimulation. Neither can it function normally when given too much stimulus. The brain and the nervous system must be maintained in a steady state. A healthy mind is a product of interaction between itself and other organisms. Along with reported intellectual impairment, perceptual deprivation, reports psychotic-like hallucinations, and effective changes in extreme behavior, including extreme boredom, restlessness, irritability, anger, unrealistic fears and anxieties, depression, physical complaints, and development of a childish sense of humor, exaggerated emotional reactions, and excessive irritation by small things. Note, prisoners become dulled from the monotonous prison experiences during confinement. As we are subjected to the newly imposed restrictions of confinement, it has become more difficult to engage in educational programs effectively under COVID-19. On 8/13/20, I personally witnessed a prisoner packing up his property to be paroled the following day. The effects of sensory and perceptual deprivation this prisoner exhibited remained with him even after his release. It is extremely difficult to adjust to the new norm because our emotional and mental mechanisms are adjusted to deprivation circumstances. There is little tolerance for the myriad of sensory input in normal environments. The prisoner's anxiety becomes so great that he or she will seek a means to return to prison with its decreased input and routine experiences. In the psychological sphere, cruel treatment and its results are not so flagrant because mental destruction is less apparent than physical destruction. As an example, damage to the mind is not as visible as a withered hand, but the reality is the same. Human impairment as a result of destructive treatment while in prison. When treatment in prison leads to a person's mental impairment, by definition, that treatment must be seen as cruel and truly barbaric. The PADOC's administrative imposition of solitary confinement is undoubtedly a constitutional form of cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment. The distinction between segregation and solitary is often no more than mere semantics. The detrimental effects of isolation and idleness are just as apparent in both solitary and segregation. Isolation as a treatment is punitive, destructive, defeats the purpose of any kind of rehabilitation efforts, and harkens back to the medieval times.